Cowboys back in action after their off week. Minnesota coming up this Sunday night. A little bit with still some questions in a way about Dak, and John Machota, theathletic.com, joins us, covers the Cowboys. John, I want to start with La'el Collins. What is he? Is he a guard, a tackle? Is he a backup? Is he a starter? What's going on there?
Man, that was the most surprising thing today of that press conference. You know, you go into this thing thinking, all right, this is going to mainly the biggest thing that's going to come out of this is going to be whatever McCarthy says about what they're going to do with Dak today and for the rest of the week. And then halfway through, when it turns to, after those Dak questions are out of the way, and it turns to La'el Collins, I did not expect him to say that Terrence Steele was going to start off the week remaining at right tackle. I just didn't. I thought that what they'd been saying the last couple of weeks about La'el getting the job back right away, or not getting the job back right away, that, you know, it'd be a process or whatever. I was like, yeah, right. When he gets back, he'll be back at right tackle. And the fact that now he's on the depth chart as the backup right tackle and backup left guard is pretty fascinating because, and then obviously today in practice, we got to watch, you know, the first half hour or so, and he was getting reps with the second team at guard and at right tackle. And so it says a lot about several different things. One, that Terrence Steele obviously has played well in these previous 5 games that we didn't expect. And then it also tells you about the concern that they have in the middle of this offensive line, and not Zach Martin, but and Tyler Biadasz at center and Connor Williams at left guard. And so I think that's one of the reasons why they're trying this out as well, because Joe Philbin is a guy who last week we got a chance to talk to him for the first time in a long time, since basically he took the job as their offensive line coach over a year ago. You know, he said that he's a guy that likes his best 5. He wants the best 5 out there. And that could certainly mean La'el Collins is a left guard. I don't know necessarily it'd be this week, but maybe that's where they're kind of ramping things up, you know, in the upcoming weeks, because they want to get stronger there, you know? And so that was just a surprise. I did not expect that. I thought for sure La'el Collins was going right back to right tackle. So that was some interesting news we got today.
So the best 5 philosophy was not a thing last year when they needed to move Zach Martin to tackle, but has maybe Mike McCarthy softened on that stance?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when that was announced today, one of the things in my mind right away was him saying last year about, well, this isn't fantasy football, about the Zach Martin thing. And I'm just like, and we're playing some fantasy football again over here. All right, okay. Yeah, I think that's changed. And that could be a Joe Philbin thing, you know? I mean, he certainly has a big voice in that room, and it's pretty clear that Terrence Steele has always been a guy that he's liked, whether it was signing him as an undrafted rookie free agent, or it was him being the guy that was put into the starting lineup last year when week after week, you know, we sat there watching those games going, they don't have a better option than this? This is awful. And I mean, hey, to Terrence Steele's credit, I mean, that's all guys talked about this offseason, is how he was, you know, in the weight room all the time, and how much he improved strength-wise. And you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, but he just looks significantly outmatched last year. Like, there's no way one offseason can make up for it. And, you know, they always talk about making that leap from first year to second year. And he's clearly made a leap. I still don't believe that he's a better right tackle than La'el Collins. But if they view that he's a better right tackle than Connor Williams is a left guard, then I can see why you start moving some of these pieces around. But to your point, yeah, it does show that he's willing to move some things around to get this offensive line, you know, where he wants it to be. But Mike McCarthy, remember, is a big-time guy on the continuity of the offensive line and having the same 5 play week after week after week. And so if we're sitting here right now going into week 8 and they're still making adjustments, it just speaks volumes about, you know, they're not going to come out and say, like, you know, Connor Williams is awful, Tyler Biadasz is awful, but they're clearly not pleased with what's going on there, because the Cowboys are 5-1, and from the outside you're thinking, let's just keep this rolling. They clearly think that they can be better there, particularly in the middle.
John, what are they looking at as far as the injury situation? I know some guys are back as full participants, some limited. Kind of how's that shaking out?
Yeah, it's interesting because today we got to see, you know, Calvin Joseph was out there, and Michael Gallup and Tristan Hill and Sean McCune. I don't know that all those guys are going to be ready for this game, but the following week certainly seems like a real possibility. So that was interesting because these are some guys, particularly Tristan Hill, where you really didn't know from week to week if is Tristan 2 weeks away? Is he 3 weeks? Is he a month? Is he a month and a half? And then all of a sudden, they're taking him off PUP. I mean, because we had seen him a little bit at practice, but he was kind of working off on his own, because when you're on PUP, you're not supposed to be working with the coaches and the rest of the team. You're supposed to be kind of doing rehab stuff, which he was. But you just sort of like, yeah, we haven't seen this since training camp. And then all of a sudden, boom, He's at practice today, so I don't think he'll be ready yet, but that's a good sign for a defensive line that it really doesn't sound like Neville Gallimore is going to be back with that elbow for at least another 3 to 4 weeks. And so if you can get a guy like Tristan Hill in there to help Osa Odighizuwa, I mean, that's pretty big, especially considering that they just moved Brent Urban to the injured reserve, which will put him out for the next 3 games. So, like I said, I don't think Tristan Hill this week. If Kelvin Joseph plays this week, I think it'll only be on special teams. I don't think he's on the level yet where they would throw him into the mix. I think they're pretty pleased with what they have at corner right now with Trayvon Diggs and Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown. But maybe this is a week where Calvin Joseph finally gets some time on some special teams or something like that. And then with Michael Gallup, I still think it's another week for him. I don't think he plays in this game, but I think the following week you'll see him back in the mix and probably back in the starting lineup.
Do you put Trayvon Diggs on Chase, or do you let him, depending on what – not Chase. Who am I thinking about?
Thielen or Jefferson?
Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson or Thielen. I think Jefferson's more explosive. Thielen's also very, very good. He's had a pretty good year. They're not to the point where he has to follow them around, is he? Or do just whoever's on whatever side, that's what he does?
And it's funny you say Jamar Chase because that's, Justin Jefferson said that was basically when they played in college, LSU against Alabama, that Trayvon Diggs was really on Jamar Chase most of the time, and Justin Jefferson was more in the slot. He said that this morning on Richard Sherman podcast. So that was kind of interesting because I kind of wondered that too, just not realizing. Obviously, I watched those games, but if I was betting on it right now, I think Trayvon Diggs is going to follow Justin Jefferson. I really do. I just think that that's a guy that they want to take out of this game if they can, and it'll be interesting because then that means Adam Thielen's going against Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown's been pretty good, these last few weeks, but Anthony Brown wasn't very good against Antonio Brown in the season opener, and this will be a game where Adam Thielen's no slouch. He's going to have his hands full, and act like, to your point though, maybe they do keep guys on a certain side. If they were to do that, I mean, both those receivers are talented. I mean, it's not going to be easy for either one. But I just have a feeling I think Trayvon Diggs is going to be on Justin Jefferson.
John, Dak Prescott, I saw your tweet, moving around pretty good. Do you think he's, quote unquote, crossed the threshold?
That was interesting that Mike McCarthy kept throwing out that threshold word. It's funny. I came into today being like, oh, yeah, Dak's playing, no doubt about it. And then the McCarthy press conference, I'm kind of like, he's being a little bit more cautious than I thought. Is this some gamesmanship? And then practice ends, and that's our first opportunity to kind of talk to guys. CD Lamb said that he thought it looked like his regular old normal Dak. And I'm leaning on that more just because out of our 30 minutes of watching it today is the beginning part and Dak's warm-up, which was, doing a lot of stuff off to the side with athletic trainer Britt Brown, a lot of cord work and stuff like that. It was longer than he normally has for his warm-up. And so I kind of was thinking, well, we might not even see him do individual. But then he got into the individual, and I'm sure he did some teams for CD to sit there and say that he looked like the same old Dak. And at the very end of CD's interview, he mentioned he was asked again a follow-up question about Dak, and he said 90% is where he would put it right now. These things Dak plays in the game, and I think that's a great percentage. I would agree with that. I think that's about where it's at. And the only thing that makes up the other 10%, why I wouldn't say 100, is just because I think they do want to still see how he will first comes out of today's practice, how he feels tomorrow, then how he comes out of that practice. And as long as there isn't a setback, I think he plays. But it was interesting, Mike McCarthy's answer when he was asked about the fact that he coached Aaron Rodgers in that 2014 playoffs when they beat Cowboys in the Dez Catch game, and then they went and lost in Seattle. Aaron Rodgers was dealing with a calf injury. And basically Mike McCarthy was like, it's not the same thing because this is the playoffs. Like, of course he's going to play. Whereas where the Cowboys are 5-1, comfortable leading the division, that puts a little something else on your plate to think about. Even with that being said, I still expect Dak Prescott to be out there in Minnesota Sunday night.
Yeah, I think he's one of those. He missed so much time last year. You're going to have to kill him or have a 2 or 3 game lead, the number one seed in the playoffs, and rest him at the end of the year. John, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Great stuff this week. Absolutely. That's the Lyle Collins story.
I just think it's – and David Hellman made a great point about it Monday. I mean, Lyle Collins wants to play tackle. I mean, that's what he wants. But
where the money is, right?
But that's where the money is. But again, they're already paying him. He's already got a contract. So I wonder what happens at center. Like, do you Do you reevaluate that too? Does
is Lyle Collins looking down the road? Tyron Smith has to always battle the neck or the back or whatever. Is Lyle Collins someone that if Terrence Steele plays this well, even with the struggles they have in the middle, is he someone that they would ever look at trying to save some money on the cap?
Well, think about what they have to do next year. And
with Dak's money going up again.
Dak's money's up. That contract is big. You've got Leighton Vander Esch is a free agent. Randy Gregory's a free agent. All the guys you brought in on one-year deals this year are free agents. And you may want to Gallup is a free agent. Cedric Wilson's a free agent. And so they've got a lot. And so say one of those guys, you're probably not going to keep all four of the guys you brought in on one-year deals, and some of them might be back. Like Malik Hooker, you could probably get back another one-year deal because he's still kind of proving it. But, say you want to bring Jaron Kearse back. He's played really well. What is that going to cost you? Or Keanu Neal or whatever that is. Is that going to cost you more money? Leighton Vander Esch is going to be a long-term contract if you bring him back. Randy Gregory is going to be a long-term contract, and he's a defensive end who's been playing really well in the absence of DeMarcus Lawrence. So if you save money by maybe shipping Lyle Collins off to an offensive line needed, what would the Chiefs give for Lyle Collins right now?
Well, not just the Chiefs.
But I'm just giving you that example of the Chiefs are that desperate, and they've got a $500 million quarterback back there who's getting lit up right now. So
I think there's got to be value at the same time. You do let him walk. Let's say Terrence Steele's just having a pretty good year. And then Williams just never progresses. And then Biadasz is struggling at center. And next thing you know, Tyron Smith goes out because of the back. And next thing you know.
But I think you're seeing, I can tell you what the draft plan for the Cowboys this year had 11 draft picks. And they used almost all on defense, save for 2 players. And this year, I think the draft plan is going to be big guys, offensive and defensive line.
All right, when we come back, we got